So as we said at the beginning of this project, it is built on an extra large screen size. I mean the screen size with 1920 pixels of width and 1080 pixels of height. Now we're going to make it responsive on different screen sizes. We have to create a couple of different breakpoints, and we'll make the project responsive using CSS media queries. I've already prepared the breakpoints on which we have to make some changes, so I'm not going to waste time finding them. Okay, let's go ahead and inspect the page and then switch to the responsive mode. So as you can see, the width and height are set to 1920 pixels and 1080 pixels. Okay, so the first breakpoint on which we need to make some changes is going to be 1400 pixels. So we have to create a CSS media query with a max width of 1400 pixels. But at first I'm going to insert here new comments, responsive, end of responsive, then create CSS media query and specify the max width as 1400 pixels. So under the breakpoint I'm going to decrease the font size of the HTML element. Let's make it 50%. It will decrease the sizes of the elements where we have used RAM as the measurement unit. Alright, so the first section looks good. We don't need to do anything here. As for the second section, where we have the cards, I'm going to increase the space at the bottom inside of the section. But in order to do that, at first we need to set the height to auto. So let's select section 2 and set height to auto, because otherwise padding at the bottom won't be applied. So we need here padding, 10 RAM at the top, then 0, then 12 RAM at the bottom, and then again 0. Next we need to create some space between the heading and the cards. So let's select cards container and assign to it margin top with the value 10 RAM. Alright, that's it regarding section 2. Let's move on and customize the next section, which is the gallery. Right now each gallery link has width and height defined in viewport width. It makes them smaller when we decrease the width of the browser window. So I'm going to change viewport width in RAM. Let's select gallery link and then define width and height. I'm going to set width to 40 RAM. As for the height, let's make it 25 RAM. And besides that, we have to define width and height for the images as well. We need to set both of them to 100%. Okay, so we have changed the width and height, I mean the measurement unit. One more thing that I want to do here is to create a little margin around the links, because once we make the browser smaller, then the images will get too close to each other. And in order to avoid it, let's set the margin to 5 RAM. Alright, actually with this breakpoint we are done. All the sections look good. And now we have to move on and find the next breakpoint, which is going to be 1000 pixels. So let's go ahead and create new CSS media query with the max width 1000 pixels. So on that breakpoint I'm going to change the size of these section headings. Let's select this element and set font size to 9 RAM. Besides that, we need to use here margin on the left and right sides, because otherwise headings will wrap later and it won't be nice. So let's set margin to 0 at the top and bottom and 5 RAM on the left and right sides. Alright, so the heading is smaller now. Next I'm going to make the icons smaller as well. So let's go ahead and select them and set their font size to 25 rem. Alright, that's it about the first section. Let's move on and customize the second one. I'm going to wrap the cards and place them on different lines. So let's go ahead and select cards container and assign to it one of the flex properties. Flex wrap with the value wrap. Next, I'm going to select card itself because I want to create some space around each card. Let's use margin and set it to 5 rem. Okay, so that's it. Cards look good, and the only thing that I want to do on the breakpoint is to increase slightly the height of the footer. So let's select section 4 and assign to it height with the value 30 rem. Alright, so with 1000 pixels we are done. Let's move on and take care of the next breakpoint, which actually is going to be 900 pixels. So let's go ahead and create new CSS media, then specify max width as 900 pixels. On that breakpoint I'm going to take care of the navbar. All the other sections look good, so let's go ahead and select navbar link. I'm going to set margin to 2 rem, then select the I element because I want to decrease slightly the font size. Let's set it to 4 rem, and also let's select span element, the text values, and set font size to 2 rem. Alright, that's it. Navbar looks good, and we have to move on and find the next breakpoint, which I think is going to be 700 pixels. So let's create new CSS media and specify max width as 700 pixels. So on the breakpoint I'm going to decrease the size of the section heading. Let's go ahead and select section heading, set font size to 7 rem. And besides that, I'm going to increase again margin on left and right sides. So let's assign to it 0 and 10 rem. Okay, next let's take care of the icons. I'm going to decrease their sizes as well. So let's select them and set their font size to 20 rem. Alright, before we move on to the next section, I'm going to move the menu icon to the left side a little bit. So let's select menu and define its left position and make it 2 rem. Alright, so the icon looks good, and actually all the other sections look nice except the footer. So let's go ahead and take care of it. First of all, I'm going to increase the height. So let's select section 4 and set height to 40 rem. Next, I'm going to place the elements in a column on top of each other. For that, we have to change the flex direction. Let's make it column. Then we need to place flex items at the top inside of the container. Use here justify content flex start. And also we need to center them horizontally using align items center. Okay, so as you can see, the elements are placed in a column vertically, but we need to create some space between those texts and the input field. So let's select section for text and define margin bottom with value 8 rem. Alright, that's it on the breakpoint. Now we have to customize our project on the last breakpoint, which is going to be 550 pixels. So let's go ahead and create new CSS media and specify max width as 550 pixels. Let's go ahead and decrease once again the font size of the HTML element. I'm going to make it 40%. Next, we need to decrease the space between the navigation items. So let's select navbar link and set margin to 0 and 0.7 rem. Alright, actually we are almost done, but I see here a little issue. You can notice that the menu icon ends up behind the gallery links. This might be a problem on other breakpoints as well, so let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to assign to it the index property by default. Let's make it 100. Alright, so the problem is fixed, and finally we have finished working on our project. I think it looks good on different screen sizes, so we can say that it is responsive. Okay, so I hope that this project was interesting, you enjoyed it and learned some new stuff. Now we have to move on and start to build the next project.